Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here, Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider, Welcome to my series of videos I do with the, is this offensive? I don't know. Anyway, hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my series of videos I do at the beginning of every year of like what I want to see out of the core 3 franchises I cover for this channel, which is Rider, Sentai, and PR. This one obviously being Rider today, where I talk about what I'd like to see for the year of 2024 and beyond. You know, I had to say it. So, as of this moment, we are currently airing the Gotchard series, and we are in a bit of a turnaround, quote unquote. Like they're doing this new arc, introducing new writers. You know, got Rin being a writer, Valvarad finally being a writer because he wasn't one before because of BS categorization. And, Legends coming in. We got Daybreak Gotchard, and it seems like they're trying to course correct and make things more interesting because it was pretty stale. So hopefully things turn around, and that leads to my first hope is I just hope Gotchard really does improve. You know, I would be shocked if it wound up being a 180 where all of a sudden it became one of my favorites or something I just really enjoyed, but at least I hope it becomes one of those series where I've had Rider and Sentai series over the course of years where I haven't been into it like Gotchard, and then they do something of a turnaround where I'm able to at least enjoy myself to a degree and find things to like. And I'm hoping that happens with Gotchard because it just hasn't been great. You know, I'd like to see Hotaro be less pathetic, less twerpy, just the show overall be better. Even if I don't engage with the characters as much, I would be even happy with something like Saber, which, to be honest, there's maybe like 2 characters in Saber I really liked, but I enjoyed the story and lore enough that I was able to enjoy myself for the rest of the series once I got back on board. So I'm kind of hoping for that because I really do like the aesthetics and the story has potential. So I just hope that Gotchard improves. Now, going into the future, this kind of springboards off of that is, I hope that Rider kind of shakes things up a little bit. You know, Rider has had a lot more consistency in regards to its performance compared to Sentai. You know, there's been Sentai is going to be canceled rumors ever since I got into the fandom. There's been the first rumor in the history of time was Sentai has been going to be canceled. But it was no secret that for a while Sentai was struggling a little bit. But then after Zenkaiger and doing these more experimental series, it feels like it's on a bit of a turnaround. Like they've gotten a little bit more traction. So that's been great. And they've been more experimental with the aesthetics, with the formula. And like I said, Rider hasn't really needed that because they've kind of found a winning formula for them, which is doing well. There's like no good reason for them to really change things that much because the general setup they have of like how the amount of forms, the gimmick stuff when it comes out, the writing, just kind of seems to be this thing that turns the same profit every year or whatever. So again, and it's like people always point out like, oh, you're a Western fan, you have no right to speak. I'm like, I'm not saying to change it. I don't believe that anyone should listen to fans no matter where you live, but I'm just voicing my opinion on what I would like to see. I'm not because I'm hoping Toei sees this, but bottom line is Rider has no reason to make any big changes, but I would love to see them do that. You know, I think it has become a bit stale. Even when the series are pretty solid, like Revice, it can still get exhausting watching the same formula year after year. It's a very formulaic franchise, and that's the nice thing about what Sentai's been doing is, of course, it's cool to see the aesthetics. I don't even think Rider, like, how could you go, I guess you could go pretty wacky with Rider designs, but I feel Rider designs have been all over the spectrum to the point where it's pretty common, get it? I didn't even mean to do that. I'm a poet. And I didn't even know I rhymed those words. It's pretty common for you to have like more grounded Rider suits and then some that are more off the wall. So unlike with Sentai where something like Zenkaiger and Dawn Brothers were pretty distinctly different. So when I say shake things up, I don't necessarily mean the aesthetics. I mean, they could, but I just can't imagine anything that would be like, oh, this is crazy unless they had them turn into like people in pair costumes. I don't even know. Regardless, I'm talking about the structure. And oddly enough, that's something I said about Sentai years ago is when Sentai was kind of stale with its formula. And Sentai can be even more boring with its formula because its filler is so useless. But I was saying how I wish they'd take a page out of Rider's book. Not in the sense that I wanted Sentai to become Rider, but because I think that one of the things that engages people more with Rider is it is more serialized, there's more story going on, and that's what Sentai's kind of done. They changed up the structure so it's not always the same predictable structure of each individual episode or of the overall plot. They become a little bit more serialized, and I was like, and they took a page out of Rider's book in my opinion where it doesn't feel like Rider, except for like the villains from Dawn Brothers kind of felt like Rider villains, but you know what I mean. And I think it's funny that I said that, and now I'm like, I want Rider to take a page out of Sentai's book and change up the formula a little bit. Be willing to change up how episodes work, how debuts work. Geats did that a little bit, which was great. Geats was like a great gateway into getting back into Rider because it was both familiar and reminded me of things I like and had some of the familiar comforts of the formula, but also did things a little bit differently. Not to mention, I think the setup of the game made some of the forms and stuff feel less intrusive. Like, even though you can chart, like, yeah, this was clearly the super form or whatever, like, for the marketing, but, like, within the context of the show, because of the way they got forms and stuff, very often you didn't think about it quite as much. So I would love for Rider just to shake things up, make things feel fresh a little bit. I wish they could find a way to keep some of the stuff that's working, but just make the show feel fresh so it doesn't feel like you're watching the same variation of the same show. Because it kind of sucked for me, like, that's why I've been having a hard time with Rider, is it's so often so similar, and I've just got, the grind is just exhausting. And then Geats got me back into it with its freshness, and then Gotchard is immediately like all of the worst possible things. Speaking of, can we get a different type of protagonist? I know that, like, I still don't know why it's appealing. Apparently because it's inspirational, but I don't know why an annoying twerp is inspirational. But I'm just so tired of the same protagonist. I feel that, like, 8 out of 10 of the last protagonists are, like, the same person. Like, you have, like, the same general idea, kind of twerpy and pathetic and idealistic, has a catchphrase, really expressive, and they're the specialist boy in the whole world. And there'll be slight differences, but they all feel like a variance of each other. And I just want something different. Like, I've said this before, I do prefer badass protagonists, but I wouldn't want to see that every year. I want to see that can we make every person feel like a different person? That would be great. And not to mention, setting that aside, I'm really tired of this the main character is always right thing that Rider has, that even extends to badass writers like Geats, where every year there'll be some sort of debate or moral to line up on the context of the series, and you'll have, you know, the main writer has a very specific way of thinking, and you'll have people that will go up against him, mainly like the secondary writer or maybe other writers that come in or other characters, and by the end of the series, everyone starts worshiping the main character's point of view like a cult. There's absolutely no room for differing opinions. Obviously, if you have certain cases like, hey, murder's bad, you know, that's the main writer, and someone's saying murder's good, yes, the main character's right. But there are certain moral debates or, like, points of view on things in Rider that have been brought up where I'm like, these are both completely valid points of view. And I think it's a good lesson to teach kids, actually, that people are going to have different points of views, and sometimes they're not always wrong. It's just like, I don't know. I'm tired of that because, like I said, I hate the twerp protagonist. I can't stand him. But as much as Geats was so much more enjoyable to watch because Ace was actually just a normal, cool person and not a pathetic twerp, but he still had that same specialist boy crap. That whole, like, everyone's got to come around to his point of view. I just want to see that stop because it makes every character feel over-worshipped. And also, I just want it to be more nuanced of like, hey, the secondary writer is also a good person with a good point of view on how to handle this monster situation. Both points of view are valid. We don't got to join the main writer cult. I would like to see that. So yeah, I'd like to see Rider shake things up in terms of its structure and its protagonist. I want to see Gotchard improve. You know, I have to sneak in my generic want every year of just, I'd love to stop the team up stuff, guys. I know that it's working for them. Again, I'm not no one to tell them because it's obviously working for them. But how amazing would it be if they took like 5 years off and then came back and it was all exciting again? Like, this Legend stuff is like some super cool ideas. I'm like, why are we wasting this now? People have listed a bunch of minuscule reasons of like, they're celebrating this anniversary or that anniversary. I'm like, no, save it for an actual anniversary. You don't got to celebrate every anniversary. Sometimes you can be a bad husband and forget the anniversary. But I would wish we could just stop that stuff so it could be special, and I have to include that. Again, it's like Legend. I'm actually not mad at Legend because he's been one of the most interesting things to happen in Gotchard, but I'm like, why are you here? Just as far as like a last note in terms of merchandising, I haven't really been collecting the main writer merch, so I don't have so much of a wish. I guess as a slight extension, I'd love to see them kind of cool it with the forms a little bit so they felt special again, or at least give them more time for them to feel special, you know? I said this before, but back in my day, you just had like main, mid-series, final, basically, and now we have like main, super, mid-series, final, and then like the mid-series and the super usually have like slight evolutions and stuff, and that's okay. Like, I don't mind that, but they do it so quickly that it makes the forms feel useless. It's like, oh, here's a super form, but now we got like the super duper form next episode, and then the other form's never seen again. So if we're gonna do that, can we at least have some balance where we get to like have time with the forms or have reason to use them later? Some series are pretty good about that. Revice actually use stuff like Barid Rex quite often because they need like ice powers and stuff, so I'd like to see them balance that. If they're not going to cool it on the forms and stuff, at least give them more screen time so it doesn't feel so throwaway. Anyway, that reminded me of that when I was thinking about toys. But I guess I'm probably going to bring this up in my Sentai thing is like, God, they've been doing way too many complete selection things. They're great, like the belts and the weapons and stuff, but it's like, it's hard to be excited by them because I feel like they're drowning us in them. But also it's like, it's hard to be able to want to get them because I'll be like, okay, I think I'm going to pre-order like the Kiva sword or whatever. And then they'll come out with something else. I'm like, God, I don't know where to put the money. It's just like, I wish they'd cool it on that a little bit. And the last little thing, as far as figure arts, they need to release a bunch of figure arts. Like, when I was watching Revice, there was a bunch of characters, I'm like, I want a figure art of them, and then they don't have them. They just have the stupid Shoto stuff or whatever. I'm like, I want the figure art of this. And there's like stuff from way back into like Ghost. Like, I still want a Shin Spectre figure that as far as I know, I wasn't released. So I'd love to see them release some of the gaps they have in Rider figure arts. I'm not like going to collect all of them, but there's a select few figures. I'm like, man, it's been forever. But that's it for my video today. What do you guys want to see out of Rider for next year and into the future? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Rider, signing out.